Hi, this is Mark from Wiki Design. In this JetEngine tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can add these color dynamic borders to your listing grid like this. I'm also going to show you how to add this custom animation, so when you hover over each one of these cards, that dynamic border up here is going to animate in and out like that. So now what I'm going to do is jump into the back end of this website, show you how I have everything set up, and then we're going to start the tutorial. And here we are on the back end of that website. And the first thing you're going to need to do, of course, is install JetEngine. And then I'm going to show you the two things that you're going to need in order to pull all of this off. So underneath JetEngine, what we need to do is first assign a post type. So if I look right here, I already have a post type called beers. So you're going to need to go ahead inside of your post types and have beers. Now you can also use this for a regular post, but in this example, I wanted to show you that you could do this by using a custom post type. And then underneath here, I just have my beers post type right here. And then I have some meta fields right here. So this isn't going to be the most important part of this tutorial. It's going to be right underneath here where it says Taxonomies. Now, in order for this to work, first let me go ahead and show you that underneath my beers, here I have 6 different beers. And then underneath here, I have a custom taxonomy called beer category. And then in this example, I just have IPA, lager, and a stout. So you can see I have 2 IPAs, 4 lagers, and 1 stout. So that's what these colors represent right here. So the light orange, those are the lagers, and then we have the IPAs here and a stout. I know this isn't accurate. This is just a demo, so I know that it says lager right here for Yingling, but I called it a stout. So I wanted to show that that has a red border if there was like a stout down here, like a Yingling. So now you know how that's set up. If I go back into my JetEngine, this is going to be very important. Underneath your taxonomies, you need to create a taxonomy. So in this case, I have one called beer categories. Then what I have is everything was on by default. So just beers. Underneath advanced settings, this is what I have enabled. I pretty much kept everything by default. And then I just click this button right here, the hierarchical. So if you want it to be more like categories and not tags, you may want to click this button. Now this is where all the magic is basically happening, is underneath your meta fields, you need to go ahead and create one called something like beer color. So that's what I did right here. Just give it a unique name. And then this is going to be important. You may want to copy this to your clipboard because later in the tutorial, we're going to need to actually copy this and paste it into a section with a dynamic color. So just go ahead and put that in your clipboard. And then underneath here for the field type, I chose the ColorPicker. So that's going to give you the option to actually choose a color for each taxonomy. So after you have that done, just go ahead and hit Update Taxonomy. And now I'm going to jump over into the taxonomies and show you how you choose the colors. So now if you go underneath that taxonomy after you created that custom color picker, you're going to see this new section right down here called like beer color. So this is where you go ahead and you can choose a unique color specific to that category. So if you don't have any categories already, this is where you would go ahead, add a category, and then you could choose the color. So if I just jump over into any of the pre-existing ones on the right side, you can go ahead and see that that's what the color is for like lager is this. So you could always add that color picker to existing ones, but you're gonna have to go to each one and like, choose the colors if you already have some categories in there, for example. If not, you can always go on the left side and just create new ones. And that's what I like about this. It's all dynamic. So if I ever need to change the color of the stout, for example, you would just change it here and then it will populate across the whole website. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is show you how I have this laid out and then how I did the animation. So this right here is just using the JetEngine listing grid, and then I already have a listing item right here. So let me go ahead and open that. But if you're brand new to listing items, what you would do is go underneath your JetEngine, and where it says listing and components, you click that. And then this is where you would go ahead and choose something like your post right here. And my post type for this example was beers, and you just kind of give it a name. So now I'm going to jump over into this one I already created and show you how I have everything laid out and how you tag everything. So on the right side right here, I'm going to open up the whole entire structure so you can see how I have everything laid out. So the best way to actually do this would be to have everything in one container. So let me go back into this example. This is all in one big container. And then that dynamic color border right there is actually a spacer widget at the very top. And then inside of here, we have another container that has the featured image, the title, and like a description right here. So that's exactly how I have it all laid out. So you can see it's one main container we have a spacer widget, and then that container I just showed you down here with all this information. So that's kind of like the best way I figured out how to do this, because in order to animate it like that, it's best to have it as like an independent widget, like a spacer, HTML, whatever you want to use. But I personally like the spacer widget because you can change how tall you want it, just like right here. So if I wanted it to be a lot bigger, you can go ahead and change the height of it right here, and then it's all like fully responsive. So of course, when you bring in a spacer widget, it's transparent. So that's why right now I turned off the background color. So this is probably what it's going to look like for you. So if you don't see a color right now, you don't have to worry about it. What we're going to do is dynamically add that taxonomy color in here. So in order to do that, you just go underneath your advanced under the spacer widget, and then underneath background right here, what we can do is click right here for a color. And this is where you would just go ahead and add a static color, but that's not what we want to do. We want to click right here where it says dynamic tags, and then we're going to be able to add in that dynamic color. So to do that, you would go down into JetEngine, and then right here where it says term field, go ahead and click that. So that's going to be looking for your taxonomies, not for anything else, just taxonomies. So then that's where you would go ahead and choose the one we created. We called it beer categories. And then for field, this is where you're going to go ahead and do meta field. So if you remember when we created this earlier, let me go back into here and show you. If you don't remember where to get this meta field, this is where you're going to need to go underneath your taxonomies, the beer categories, and then that one I told you to copy to your clipboard, that's what we need right now. So just go ahead and copy this. Now that's what is considered the meta field. So just paste that in there. So when you do that, you should see a color come in if the existing post on the back end has that meta field already assigned to it. So you can go ahead and hit publish right here. And then now you should see on the front end of the website, you should see that those colors come in and they should be dynamic. So these were the loggers, this was the IPA, and then this was like that fake stout one with the red. So of course you can always go ahead and change the height of the spacer. I think I had it at like 5 when I started the demo. So you can always just go ahead and change that and then hit update. So let me go ahead and show you that if you change a color, let me go into the stout, for example. If I change that to a totally different color on the back end, you're going to see it populate. So that's what's really powerful about using like dynamic colors and information like this. You just change it in one place and it'll update everywhere. So if I go underneath the stout color, and for this demo, let's just make it, something like this, like a bluish color, hit update. So now when I go to the front end of the website, that red for the Yingling is going to change to a blue. So you can see right here, that changed to a blue. So that's what's really cool about this is like when you, like I say, just change it one spot and it should automatically change right here. So of course, you're not limited to just using like the spacer widget or anything like that. When you want to display this color, you could do it anywhere. So in this example, let's do it for the whole main container. So this like light gray background, if you go underneath that container and make it dynamic, you can go ahead and do the same process. So instead of that light gray, you click under dynamic tags, do a term field, and then let's do beer categories, the meta field, and drop that in there. So I know it's going to look ugly because I haven't styled anything else up, but I just wanted to show that you can use this anywhere. So you can see right here, now the top ones are the lager, these are the IPAs, and then that is like the stout color. So yeah, you can use this anywhere throughout the whole entire website. Just wanted to show you're not limited to just like using the spacer widget. So now we go into the fun part, and that's doing the CSS animation for this hover effect. So when I hover over each card, that spacer widget we just created, we can have it do something like animate across the screen and then come back. So while you're inside of your listing template right here that we added the spacer widget, we need to add 2 CSS classes, and then I'm going to show you the code you need to drop in order for this animation to work. So the main container right here, the one that has everything inside of it, this needs a unique class. So if you go ahead and just call it something like main-card right here underneath CSS class, then the code I'm going to give you is going to work without having to change anything. So we also need to give the spacer widget a unique class. So just go into the spacer widget underneath advanced and call it something like top-border right here. So the main reason I like using the spacer widget in this example is because it's going to be a lot easier to animate a widget rather than like trying to animate borders or anything like that. It's so much easier to use like a spacer widget. So once you have those two CSS classes on your listing template, now what we can do is jump over into the front end of this page right here where it has the listing grid, and that's where we're going to be adding the CSS code. And here we are inside of that page. So I just wanted to show that this page is just very simple. I just have a regular listing grid and it's pulling in the listing template we just created. So let me go ahead and just close this out right here. And what I like to do is add the CSS animation code to this page specific. So there's no reason to add this code globally because all that's going to do is kind of bloat the back end of your website. And if you're not going to be using this CSS animation throughout, you can go ahead and just do it on a per page basis. So in Elementor, what I like is you could do that just at a page settings right here. So if you go ahead and click the cog right here, page settings, underneath advanced, you can just drop in the code I'm going to have in the description. So just paste in the code right here. So here's the code that we're going to be going over in this tutorial. There's not much to it, which when I do CSS animations, I like to keep it very lightweight. So this first code right here is the top border. So that's the spacer widget that we added. So what you need to do is declare where it's going to be first. So this is what left 0% means. That basically just means where it's at when you assign it in Elementor. So that's why you need to be able to animate from left 0%, which is where it's at right now. And then when you hover over it, that's what this code right here is doing. It's going left 100%. So it's animating left 100%. And then if for some reason you want it to go the opposite, you can do negative 100%. So you can just have it where it goes from the right to the left. So you can change these numbers right here if you want. And then the other thing right here you may want to change is how fast you want it. So right now it's at 0.6 seconds to go all the way across and come back. If you want it to be really slow, you can go ahead and like 4.6 seconds or something, and it will just slowly go, and then it will start to ease back. So that's what this is right here. This is easing the animation. So that's going to make it where it's not so jarring. Because if you don't have that on here, if I remove that, it would just go, and let me do 0. It would just go real quick. But easing is mainly when you hover out and in, it's going to make it a lot of a smoother transition. So it will go a lot smoother, especially when it's slower. And then right down here, if you need some sort of media query where you just don't have this animation going on. So if I go here, so sometimes on a mobile or tablet device, when you click, it would play the animation like halfway and then kind of just like stop. It almost looks like it's glitching. So that's what this can do, is just eliminate that to 0 seconds. So you don't have to worry about any weird glitches or anything like that. And then one last thing is if you hover over these things and it's animating and you can see it's going off the screen like this and making the scroll bar come up. So what that is we need to actually declare an overflow on each one of these listing items. So jump back over into your listing template right here and select the main container. So the one that we called main card. You're going to want to go ahead underneath additional options and overflow hidden. So again, if you have the scroll bar coming over, this is going to fix that. So as soon as you enable that, that's what it looks like right now when you don't have the overflow hidden. It's very glitchy. So now what you can do is hit refresh. So now when you do that, you can see it's going to not animate and go across the screen and cause the sidebar or anything like that to happen. So very helpful to make sure that you have that on because it will look very glitchy. And that's it for this JetEngine tutorial on how I was able to add this color dynamic border to my listing template just like this. Make sure that you like this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and hit that bell to receive notifications when I release new tutorials like this. Again, this is Mark from Wiki Design.